So it's been quite a while. If you've subscribed and stuck this long to the channel, I don't expect anybody to be watching this, but consider this a gift from me to you. Um, there seem to be increasing, well, very real. They've been increasing for the last couple of months, even more so. But I think there's a major uprise in frequency of what people like to call unidentified flying objects. Um, Let me first off by saying that I don't know whether the ones people are witnessing are man made or not. I don't know if they're from the earth, even though I have my own personal ideas, or from some other world, let us say. I don't know if it's another planet. I don't know if it's another dimension. Okay? But I find it very, very interesting, especially in my neck of the woods, that they're being seen with more frequency. And in one case, close to home, um, right in my face. I'll just leave it at that. So, for the last couple of weeks, till recently, I've noticed that a lot of the archived websites where a person could go, oh God, where a person could go and read a book, or download the PDF of a book to read later, were shut down. And it's very interesting that this happened, and I know it has happened because um I've tried to get into um I think they're accessible now. I think they're accessible now, like the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive. For some reason, the last couple of weeks it was difficult to get in it, to look at any books, to download anything, any PDFs. And it wasn't the only place. There's another site, the Wayback Machine, which also was shut down. And I took that as a sign that something's gonna happen soon. Something big is happening. They going in there and they're shutting down archival websites for some reason. Maybe they're cleaning house. Maybe they're taking certain things away, deleting things, you know. Now, the last time I checked on my other computer, they seem to be accessible again. But who knows what they were doing in the meantime. And when I say they, you know exactly who I mean. If you've been watching this channel, if you've been watching the videos, you know I'm talking about those sons of bitches, secret society motherfuckers. All right, well, anyway, at the Wayback Machine archive website is where I first came across what I'll be reading out of today. And thankfully, I had already downloaded this this book. So just in case, for whatever reason, it was no longer accessible, I had a copy, a physical copy with me. You are not going to be able to get this book because I actually put this together myself. I actually got it made. Now, you can go to the website, and I'll give it at the end, and you can read through it yourself, and you can decide if you want to go through the trouble like I did and actually get a physical copy made of it. That's up to you. But I'd suggest you do. If in any way, shape, or form you like what you hear tonight, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read for about an hour. At 7 p.m., I'm shutting it down. See what the response is afterwards. I also want to state something very important. I am not the author of what you are about to hear this evening. Not at all. But I think, as I said earlier, that things are getting hectic out there, with this presidential selection, not election, selection. I think we're about to head into some serious times. So, with that said, I'm going to read for about an hour. And what do they say when you're watching a DVD, a Blu-ray? It tells you at the beginning the things talked about on this production are not necessarily the beliefs or the opinions that. Well, I'm gonna say that too. What you're about to hear are not necessarily my beliefs or opinions, but I think it's important enough to read it. Some chapters are shorter than others, and some chapters are very long indeed. And I'm pretty sure it's going by chapters. But I'll just read it the way it's printed. The Way 1. The Coming of the Elohim. Over 50,000 years ago, the planet Earth was visited by a race of beings from what is known as the collective. The collective is comprised of many different races who work together for their mutual benefit. Each of these races, with but one exception, are of the human species. These humans are the same genetically as those found on the Earth. They are from 3 main colony zones: Sirius, Orion, and Pleiades. The only other race so far discovered is cetacean-based, or in simpler terms, dolphin-based. Unlike dolphins on this world, the Delphohim, or greys as they are called, continued their evolution on land and have evolved into the most technologically advanced race in this region of the galaxy. All life found in this region is of the same genetic blueprint. This is thought to be the result of the seeding of worlds by a single race with the same basic code of life. They are called the seeders, within the collective. They exist through or outside of time. It is thought. One of the races they created was that of the humans mentioned above, who call themselves the Anunnaki, Ankh for short. Another is the human race found on Earth, who are referred to as Terrans within the collective. It is the meeting long ago of these two races of humans that is the subject of this message. The rulers of the Anunnaki call themselves the Elohim. They came to the earth for mining and colonization purposes. There was a revolt by the Anunnaki workers over conditions and leadership. There was a brief conflict and a change in the leadership. It was the younger generation Elohim who then were in charge of the Earth project. All of this can be found in your historical myth and legends and verified. The main source we will use is the history of the Sumerian peoples. They have left you the entire story of these events. A good book on the subject is The Treasures of Darkness by Thorkild Jacobsen. After the revolt, an ambitious Anunnaki geneticist began to experiment on a certain member of the primate species. These animals were pre-humans. This Anunnaki woman decided to enhance the intelligence and body of the animal by splicing their genes with it. The resultant being they called the Adamu, or man of earth. They are you, modern man. This tale of creation, as told by the Sumerians, is in the Elish, or as you call it, Genesis. The latter version is greatly interpreted correctly. The Sumerians called these people the Anunnaki. Their leaders are the Elohim. The word Elohim means combined gods and goddesses, and was substituted with the word God, singular, by Bible translators. Elohim is plural and is the true word that was written. Every place you see the word God in Genesis, replace it with the word Elohim, the original word used. This sort of word replacement was a great deception of your people. It has kept you from learning the truth. By doing this, you will be able to understand Genesis, which is a copy of a much older Sumerian legends. Which is a copy of much older Sumerian legends. Okay. The Elohim are what the Sumerians called gods, and these are the humans who came from the collective. They genetically altered pre-humans, and you are the results. Now you know the answer to one of the greatest questions of the Bible, why it says, "Let us create man in our own image." There were 6 main leaders of the Sumerian gods, known by the symbols of nature they represented. They are of 7 different age generations. Their symbols are the sun, moon, water, etc. The last generation god was called Marduk. He assumed control of the earth. He was responsible for ordering the creation of the Adamu, man, and ordered them to be used as slaves to give the Anunnaki workers some rest. These events are given in Genesis, but not well explained. The first 7 days of creation are a condensed version of what I have just told you. The first 5 days are when the sun, moon, water, etc. were created. These represent the Sumerian gods in exact order of generation and symbol. As an example, the first generation Sumerian goddess is called Tiamat, or as her other name, the deep water. The first creation is of the deep and the separation of its waters. The 6th generation god was Marduk. He ordered creation of man to give the Anunnaki rest. The 6th day, Marduk, in Genesis, man was created. On the 7th day, God, Anunnaki, rested. It is the same, but told in a different way to confuse you and to keep you from the truth. The snake is what tempted mankind. The snake is a symbol found all over the world. Today, abductees see a symbol of an upside down triangle and 2 snakes wrapped around each other inside the triangle. The ancient medical symbol has 2 snakes wrapped around each other and a flying disc at the top. The Sumerian goddess who created the Adamu is shown with 2 snakes. The snake is in Genesis. What does it all mean? Get ready to have your eyes opened for the first time. Remember what is going on now and back then: genetic manipulation. The intertwined snakes are what primitive man saw on the uniforms of the Anunnaki. The same emblem abductees see today. It is the symbol of their genetic corpse. They are not snakes. It is the double helix of DNA, the genetic code. Thousands of years ago, man did not know about genetics and DNA. The helix symbol to them and to abductees today look like snakes. The medical sign has the snakes and a winged disc. DNA and a flying disc. You can't get any plainer than this. The snake gave the power of knowledge to man. In biblical terms, to have knowledge or of someone is to engage in reproduction. He knew his wife, and she bore a son. The snake gave man the power to reproduce. This was considered as sin by some. If they had left the Adamu unable to reproduce on its own, then by not making more, they could end their deeds. Instead, they modified the Adamu further, and the rest, as they say, is history. What happened after this will be told in the Way 3. Peace be with you all. I see we still got one guy watching. Let's see for how long. I turned off the chat, in case you're wondering, because I want to concentrate on what I'm reading. The way to. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Is there a God? And does this God care for me? What happens when I die? Why is there so much pain in the world? How do I change the world into a better place? And, are there no answers? Yes, there are answers to all these questions and all the others that will ever arise. The first step is to believe in your own capacity to find them. The second is to become as a child in spirit as well as mind. As children, the world is a place filled with wonder, each day bringing new knowledge and the anticipation of things yet learned. It is this same desire that you must place in your hearts. If you can accept these two truths, then you will have taken the first steps in finding your own way. What is the way? The way is a path you choose to guide you back to where it all began, back to the One. The One is the source of all life in the universe. There are only two forces in the universe: creation and destruction. The universe and all matter in it goes from a high order to a low order. Life goes from a low order to a higher order. The universe destroys, life creates. The One is this creation force at its highest level. The goal of all life is to create, and by the act of creating, become as one. You, as a life form, are part of all the life in the universe. You started out at the lowest rung on the ladder and have worked your way up. It is now time for you to realize and accept your own role in the plan of creation. You are capable of creating and are therefore a creator. You are not the One, but part of the One in all life. Your goal is to begin at the bottom, reach the top, and then return with that knowledge and experience back to the One. This process unfolds over the lifetime of a world and is both of a physical and spiritual nature. The life force that resides in a physical form is enlarged and matured over the course of many lifetimes. Starting at the single cell level, a life form will progress upwardly through increasingly complex biological containers in a process of birth, death, and rebirth. It is the evolutionary process of all life, and all life is bound by this law of the One. Evolution is the creation of a more complex life form from less complex life forms. You will work your way up the ladder of life until you reach the point that your spiritual enlightenment is so great that there is no physical life form complex enough to contain you. It is at this point that you leave the restrictions of the physical behind and merge with the other life forms who have reached this level. Together you will form the great collective spirit that is called the One. This is the path you are now on. In terms of progress, you are halfway home. Why? Because you have reached the complexity level of sentience. You are no longer an animal simply following genetically defined behavior patterns alone. You now have the capacity to change the course of your own destiny by conceiving of a new way or reality in which to exist. You have now become children of the One. Before you lies the path back to the One. The end of this path can only be reached by those who create. Now that you are aware, you can choose to create or destroy. The more advanced you become, the more polarized toward creation you will become. The elimination of destructive actions is the way. There is a right way and a wrong way, but there is only one way home. You may have heard it said that actions are not the path to salvation, that by faith in a certain belief you are saved. I tell you that you are the sum of your actions, and it is by them alone that you may gauge your own spiritual level. If you are capable, if you are capable of the wrong actions, then you are wrong from within. If you do right or good actions, it is within you also. It is this balance of spirit that is the judgment. The only faith that has ever saved anyone is the faith that comes from believing in yourself. You are the only one responsible for your spiritual self development. It is a long and hard process, to be sure. You can only achieve so much in each lifetime. It is not an easy road to travel. This road we call life. There are others who say there is an easier path. Just believe this or that. But ask yourself this and be honest. For the only one you lie to now is yourself. If this were true, then life would be a piece of cake. It would be a gift too good to be true for mankind. Now, have you ever had anything that was too good to be true turn out to be real? The simple truth is that life is a battle, hard fought to win. But the true victor in it is you. I have heard you say you want a better world. Then you must be the one to change it. How do you change an entire world? One person at a time, starting with you. You must do what is necessary to correct your own life. You must learn the way in order to do this. I will show you how, or rather, help you remember that which you have forgotten. There is much to learn and even more to unlearn. I will tell you about life on this world and life on other worlds. You are not alone, and in fact, other beings have had a major impact on your particular world's development. Many of the problems that you now face are not of your own making. Long ago, a race of beings came to this world and interfered with that which was developing into mankind. It has, over the years, done a lot of harm to your development. It is not the only source of problems and should not be blamed for all your ills. You must take responsibility for your own actions and do what is necessary to correct them. This and much more I will tell you of. I will do my part to teach. You must do your part and have the desire to better your world. Everything that I will tell you has been said before. Let's hope you use the gift of knowledge that is offered to better yourself and others. I do this because I believe in you, and that mankind is a noble and promising addition to the collective. I ask only that you believe in yourselves as I do. I will leave you with the first lesson of the way. To begin to become a creator, you must create. One simple good deed is an act of creation. You will create the feeling of happiness in someone else. Do one of these good deeds each day. It can be as simple or as great as you wish to make it. What's important is that as you do it, you realize the purpose behind the action. It is not to gain points on your spiritual development chart. It is to create a feeling in someone else with your action. Oh, your action will cause the birth of a positive emotion in someone else. This is an act of creation, and you are the creator. The deed itself is unimportant. The change in yourself necessary to do it is. You will find that making someone else happy creates its own happiness within you. This emotion is a reflection of what you are. It is the reward that creation offers to those who create in others. It is the greatest gift the one has to offer and is part of the way. Until we speak again, do unto others that which I have told you. Peace be with you. And I want to repeat what I said at the beginning for those just joining or watching this later. I am not the author of this book. Okay? The way 3. What is the way? Continued. You have seen our first two-way messages and by now must be asking yourself many questions. What is the purpose of the way? Is undoubtedly the first. Let us try to explain what our intent is and how we will accomplish it. The way is a very old and sincere attempt to bring a little light into a world that has known mostly darkness. Every few thousand years, the Elohim attempt to enlighten mankind as to their true nature and their relationship to the One. These first way messages will be divided into two types. Type 1, historical. This type will give you an understanding of who you are and who the collective is. It will detail the chronological events from man's first encounter with the Elohim up to the present time. In order to become one, you must know who you are. And to know who you are, you must first know who you were. We will give you a means of verifying what we say by using your own religious and mythological records. The final message in the historical section will deal entirely with the Christian text known as Revelations. It was given to man for a very specific purpose and to be understood at a very specific time. That time is now. You will be shown the true meaning of Revelations, and it will not be as any of you have expected it to be. Prepare yourselves for quite a shock. Once you fully understand this text, you will know the true nature of who you are and what you will become. Type 2, spiritual. The second type of message is the continuation of a process started long ago. In it are the codes of spiritual and social conduct. necessary for mankind to become members of the collective. Every few thousand years, the collective has attempted to guide mankind toward a higher order of civilization. You have proved to be a thick necked and stubborn people when it comes to being civilized. This is not really a surprise when you consider who your parents were. The way is not a religious order. It is not intended to destroy the religions of the world. Rather, it is intended to free you from them and from those who have misused them to gain control over you. It will show you that all of the different religions you now know came from the same original source. These were intended to teach you the codes of life in a sequence of enlightenments spread over many thousands of years. As you begin to mature, the messages became, oh, as you began to mature, the messages became more complex and deeper in terms of enlightenment. They were intended to follow and draw from each other to form a cohesive matrix of understanding. Taken separately, they are each a path. Combined, they form the way. The way will show you how to use these different paths as one. It will give you the tools so that you can find the underlying truth found in all of them. The end purpose is to give you the knowledge necessary to join the collective. There are certain laws and codes of conduct that must be learned if you are to be accepted. It is hard work, but well worth the effort. All of the previous guidance was intended to give you the basic knowledge in a form you could handle at the time. It is now time to put that knowledge to work in yourselves and the world around you. You have all looked for the coming of a new age and a better life. Some have believed in the second coming of the great teacher known as Joshua HaMashiach, or Jesus as he is now called. Your legends say that the Spirit of Christ will come again and lead you to the new age of enlightenment. Is Jesus returning to this world? The answer is yes, but not in the way most have envisioned. Jesus gave you the example of what a true human being is. The Spirit of Christ, in its purest form, is a soul filled with the light of creation. This creation is done not for vanity or self gratification. It is done because there is the will to do only those things that are of the light or creation in your heart. When a person does this simply because it can be done, and it fills that person with a sense of well being, then this act has been done for one reason: it is done out of love. Love is the most powerful tool a creator may use. Jesus was the master craftsman who uses the tool of love. This is what he taught you and tried to demonstrate. This type of action is the Spirit of Christ in its purest form. The second coming of Christ is not a single person endowed with the Spirit. It is the realization of the Spirit in the hearts of all mankind. The Spirit of Christ will live again through all of you. You are the second coming. When all of you act to create out of love for each other, then you all become the same Spirit. you all become as one. This is the way, and you are the children of the way. The way is yours. It belongs to every person on this world and to those beyond. You are its creators and its users. It was and is and will be forever, but only if you act and use it. Each and every one of you must contribute to the whole. We have planted this seed in your hearts, but you must water and feed it, if it is to grow. You and you alone are responsible for your destiny. We will help as we have before, but the ultimate failure or success is up to you. You must believe in yourselves and your ability to change this world. You must work together as one. As one, there is no power on this earth that can oppose you. This is your world, and it is your life. You have the right to make it a better place. Look around you and ask yourself if you like what you see. The answer is no. Oh, if the answer is no, then change it. Act, do. Don't wait for someone else to do it for you. You will be waiting forever. These messages on your computer networks, and let me stop here and explain this. Originally, this book, for lack of a better word, was online. Um, I guess what happened was the website was shut down at some point, and the Wayback Machine archived reposted it online, and that's how I have a copy of it. These messages on your computer networks are the first step. Share them with one other. Work with each other to learn what they mean. Let them be a gathering place for your thoughts and dreams. Begin to feel the power that comes with acting as one. The way is yours. Use it. You are the future of this world. Realize this and begin to act as the creators you are. Do this, and the prophecy of the second coming will be fulfilled. There was thunder once on the earth. That thunder has returned. Be the sons and daughters of thunder. Study the way and be as one. Peace be with you all. And let me again repeat what I said earlier. I am not the author of these lessons, this book, whatever you may want to call it. I'm just reading it because I feel that it's the right time. The Way 4. Historical. In the Way 2, we discuss the Elohim and their modification of pre-humans to create modern man. This discussion will deal with the events following the creation. The Adamu, or man, were originally created to work in various projects around the world. These included mining, food production, construction, etc. By giving man the ability to reproduce on his own, the population began to multiply quite rapidly. The Anunnaki began to clamor for more of the workers. Human females were further altered so that conception was possible not just once per year, but every 28 days. This can be found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. It began to be a status symbol among the Anunnaki to have as many Adamu as possible. Different models were produced to perform different tasks. Finally, a model was produced as a suitable house servant. This was a great success, and further refinements were made to them. One was that they were made to look like smaller versions of the Anunnaki themselves. They were very fine featured, but smaller in size compared to the larger workers. At this point in time, a change in the garrisoning of the Anunnaki soldiers took place. They had been stationed above the earth. They had been stationed above Earth and on the other mining planets. They were now able to live on the surface and to set up their communities there. You will read of these soldiers in Genesis chapter 6, when it says, "The sons of the Elohim said of the daughters of man that they were fair, and they took them wives, all of which they chose." There were Nephilim, Anunnaki soldiers, on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of the Elohim came onto the daughters of man, and they bore them children. The Anunnaki soldiers started to reproduce with earth humans, also known as Ehums. Some of their offspring became great leaders of Ehums, living in cities. Soon, word of what was occurring on the earth reached the leaders of the collective. These leaders demanded to be brought in Ehum for examination. The Elohim were very worried that their leaders, who considered what they had created to be an abomination, would order all Ehums destroyed. They had no choice but to obey, and to send one of their creations to the great vessel now orbiting the earth. When this Ehum arrived, he was questioned and examined thoroughly by the leaders. They were enchanted with this little version of themselves, and said so to the Elohim in charge of earth. They ordered that the Ehums be taught civilization and established rules governing their care. This is the story found in Genesis chapter 5. The Ehum who was sent was kept by the leaders and did not remain on earth. His name in the Bible is Enoch. Verse 24 says, "And Enoch walked with the Elohim." And was not, for the Elohim took him. There might be typographical errors, so please forgive me if I make the mistakes. After these events, the population of Ehums began to increase dramatically. They lived in cities along the coastline mostly. These humans began to become very violent and troublesome. Disease was rampant. Loose bands of humans would even attack Anunnakis if caught alone in an isolated spot. One Elohim leader was particularly angry at the situation. He ordered that the population of man be cut down. This was to be accomplished by limiting the amount of food supplied, and so starve off a portion of the population. This was a complete failure, as most Anunnaki could not stand to see their Ehums suffer in this manner. Finally, a plan was made by the particular Elohim to fix the problem once and for all. The mining engineers from Orion had come up with a plan to bring large amounts of molten subsurface material to the surface. They would explode a large number of thermonuclear devices inside underwater volcanoes in the Atlantic. This would produce a lot of precipitation and tidal flooding of the coastlines. All Anunnaki were ordered inland from the coasts, and the entire base at what you would call the island of Atlantis was evacuated. There was one other small thing they were required to do. They were ordered to leave all EUM workers. The bombs were detonated and all went as planned, with one small hitch. The resultant plate movement caused by so many bombs going off at once sank the island base of Atlantis. When the Elohim returned, they had another surprise waiting for them. The Anunnaki had secretly hidden most of their EUMs in large transport ships. The leaders were unaware of this at first. They were saddened by the lack of EUMs and regretted having let them perish. It was then that an Elohim who liked EUMs announced they had been spared. All of the Anunnaki were happy at this news, even the one Elohim who had ordered their destruction. A pledge was then made to EUMs that never again would the Elohim order their destruction. It is, of course, it is a promise made to man that has been kept ever since. This entire story is, of course, the legend of Noah and the flood. It occurred approximately 11,000 BC. This point in the history of man marks the beginning of what you know as civilization. The next historical way message will go into the interrelationships that developed between EUMs and the Elohim. It is a time when man became a distinct civilization. Laws and societal values were learned, and the Elohim introduced a powerful tool to shape man's development, called religion. Way 5 will be spiritual. It will deal with the spiritual axiom of right action, which is the key to all higher development. Peace be with you. And let me see. Well, this next chapter isn't too long. I think I can finish up with it. Yeah. Okay. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, I'll be ending this at 7 p.m. Let me drink some water. The way 5, spiritual right action. This is perhaps the most important way message that we will give. It is the foundation upon which all that follows shall be built. Over the centuries, people have asked, why does evil exist in this world? Why is there so much pain, so much wrong, and so little right? These questions, like many that mankind has asked, are fundamental to the learning process and to spiritual growth. To ask why is the first step in conquering ignorance. What then is evil? Evil is the condition that exists when good does nothing. Good is the light of creative action. Evil is the darkness of inaction. Where there is no good, there is only evil. Where there is no light, there is only darkness. This is a fundamental truth and must be understood fully before going any further. Action is the key to all existence. Without action, there is only stasis and the emptiness of non-existence. Where there is action, there is life and creation. You are life and endowed with the power of action. How and in what manner you use this power determines the destiny of your soul, your race, your world. You can act and move forward into the light, or you can do nothing and watch your world sink into utter darkness. The most important thing to realize is that it is your actions and that determine the outcome. Your actions as an individual are as important as those of your entire race. Each of you contribute to the greater whole. All the things that can be thought of will never be more than a dream unless acted upon. To end evil, you must act. To cure disease, you must act. To end starvation, you must act. It does not matter what it is. If you want change, you must act. Your words and your prayers are as nothing compared to the power of a single action. It all begins with you. There are two kinds of actions you can do, right and wrong. Right action creates, and wrong action destroys. The final result of spiritual evolvement is for all your actions to be right actions. A being capable of only creation and no destruction. A being filled with light. You have heard it said that the one is a light brighter than any other light, and yet it does not hurt to look upon it. It is not any brighter than the light within you. It is just that there is no darkness within it. This, then, is the goal toward which we all must strive. It will take countless lifetimes to accomplish. These are the first steps you must take on your journey. Each day, you have a chance to change the course of your life. The first step is to examine what it is that makes you the person you are. You are the sum of your actions. What were the actions you took today? Were they all right actions? The first step is to realize what actions you are taking. Each time you act, mentally analyze what type of action that was. If it was a wrong action, admit it. Then say to yourself, I will not do that type of action again. Will you do it again? Probably so. What you are doing is ingraining in yourself the ability to recognize right from wrong. Inside of each of you is a small and independent form of thought process. It's called your conscience. It's the little voice that tells you when you have been bad and when you have been good. It tries to do its job and control its bigger brothers. It tries to do its job and control its bigger brothers and sisters who are known as the family of desires. When you look at your action and tell yourself what kind of action it was, you are giving your conscience a small boost of morale. It's like saying, okay, you were right. That was a wrong action, and I shouldn't do it again. As your oh, Alexa, that was Alexa letting me know it's 7 p.m. Alexa, stop.
Alarm set for 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Strange. Okay. It's like saying, okay, you were right. That was a wrong action, and I shouldn't do it again. As your conscience begins to feel more assured that you can handle the job of determining right from wrong, it will start to take over functions it simply didn't have the time to do before. It will begin to automatically eliminate wrong thoughts, which lead to wrong actions, from even being generated. You, as a person, will begin to channel your energy towards right action. The process of recognizing wrong thoughts and telling yourself to eliminate them will become second nature to you. This recognizing of wrong thought is only half the process. The other half is to create right thoughts where there were none before. This is what was told to your This is what was told to you earlier. You start by doing one good deed a day. You create the thought, recognize it as the right thought, and then tell yourself to carry it out. After a time, you will begin to generate these right thoughts without a conscious effort. You will be projecting right thought out to those around you. Your right actions will be altering another being's behavior. In turn, the light you put out will be reflected back to you. It all combines to reinforce your will to do what is right. All of this requires one thing from you: action. Your actions will speak louder than any words you have ever spoken. It is not an easy task to do only right. There will be times when those who are not of the light will do wrong to you. You may do wrong in return to them, but the only one you have really wronged is yourself. These actions become part of you. They are you. Here is an example of what we are trying to express. Imagine that you are far beneath an ocean. You are struggling to reach the surface and breathe the air. The ocean represents the passage of time you must travel through in the coming lifetimes. The air represents the environment of the one. At the beginning, you are miles beneath the surface, swimming toward the light you see so far above. You have only a limited supply of air, and therefore perish after swimming only a short way up. Reincarnation allows you to be born again to continue your journey towards the light. Each time you come back, you find yourself a little stronger, your lungs filled a little more with air. This air represents the right actions you have done in previous lives. The greater your actions, the more life sustaining air fills your body. You travel farther and farther upwards each time. Sometimes a distraction catches your eye and you Sometimes a distraction catches your eye and you change your course to approach it. This allure stops your upward motion and makes you waste precious air. These distractions represent the wrong actions you have done throughout your lives. You will meet others who swim upwards as you do. Some will try to pull you back down. If you stop to fight them or do them harm in return, you waste your precious air. Do right actions even to those who would do wrong to you. Some you will see weakened. They're swimming a struggle. Help them to go upward, and you will be given greater amounts of air the next time. Someday you may want them to help you swim. Help others as you would want them to help you. Eventually you will find your way to the surface. There you will find the source of all air, or right thought. There you will find the source of all life. You will have reached the one. This is the journey through the ocean of life. Realize your thoughts and take control over them. Guide your thoughts toward right thought. When you know in your heart the difference between right and wrong, you will know what needs to be changed. And with this wisdom, all becomes obtainable. Peace be with you all. And I'm stopping right there. I will see if I can continue tomorrow and the next upcoming days. But if you don't see me tomorrow here, rest assured, hopefully, I'll continue reading from the way lessons, as they are called online. Um, only thing left to say, I guess, is if you happen to be outside, look to the sky every once in a while. You might see something not of this world.